Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's session for Find Your Career Goals in partnership with Edge Hub. My name is Daryl, and I'll be your trainer for today's session. I am a Google Digital Garage trainer, and we'll be delivering this course in combination and will help with a wonderful gentleman called Glenn, which will be moderating today's chat. A few of you have already said hello within the chat, which is great to see. Before I get into a couple of introductions, I want to do a couple of housekeeping tips. First and foremost, if you're having any problems hearing me or seeing me today, please go ahead and refresh your browser. It usually does the trick. As mentioned, you probably had a few moments to say hello within the chat, but we love questions, we love queries, we love emojis, and today is going to be as an interactive session as possible. So in order for you to get involved, you would be required to have a YouTube account. Relatively easy to get set up, but once you're all set up with that YouTube account, you'll be able to send over any questions, queries, emojis over to myself and Glenn, which we really hope that you're going to get engaged with. Now, we will be pausing throughout today's session for any questions or queries that you may have, but as the session's going along, if anything comes to mind, don't be shy, pop it into the chat, and myself and Glenn would love to answer any questions or help guide you in the right direction. Now, on top of this, just to let you know, this particular live training is a part of a broader offering from the Google Digital Garage. So I hugely encourage you to click in the link in the description below. It'll take you to their website and give you a plethora amount of information and online courses. Last but very not least is if you'd like to have the closed captions for this particular session, what you'll need to do is hover over the window. You'll be able to find some settings for this video and find the closed caption options. At least you'll be able to read along as we go along. That's a little bit of the housekeeping tips, but myself, Glenn, and the team, we are super excited to be delivering this webinar in partnership with Edge Hub today. And we welcome all the guests that have been invited to join this Google Digital Garage training. And I will now read out a short introduction on behalf of Edge Hub before we start. Thank you for joining us today for Find Your Career Goals webinar. We are excited to be partnering with Google to bring you this wonderful webinar, focusing on skills, futures, and technology. The Edge Hub puts individuals at the heart of the process, ensuring every member feels the benefits of the innovative process, helping personal, business, and career growth through upskilling and training. The Edge Hub is leading the change in how technology is understood, revolutionizing the availability and access across the region. The Edge Hub takes a new approach to upskilling in digital poverty high areas, improving existing methods of offering advanced courses unavailable in the current climate to raise the bottom line to meet the demand of the immediate, relevant, and high quality training such as these webinars. For more information on the Edge Hub, please go ahead and register your interest in the following link below. Now, I know Glenn already has popped it within the chat, but have a click onto that, have a browse around Edge Hub. They're doing fantastic things, and we're super excited to be delivering this session with you right now. So without further ado, I think the housekeeping is out of the way. I did a little bit of a short introduction in terms of housekeeping. In terms of myself, as mentioned, I'm a trainer for the free skills training program, the Google Digital Garage. I come from a very diverse background within sales, recruitment, hospitality, learning and development, and of course within tech. And I like to believe I've successfully transitioned to these 5 different areas of my career. I've been all over the place, but hopefully from my experience and Glenn's experience, we'll be able to pass on any knowledge that can empower you to help you find your own career goals. With that being said, as mentioned, Glenn is within the chat, also a Google Digital Garage trainer, and he will be moderating today's chat, answering questions, and hopefully you're going to engage with him. And the first thing I'd like you to do is, hopefully everybody's done so already, is please go ahead and say hello. What is your name? Maybe let us know where you're calling in from. You can let us know any pronouns. You can let us know your favorite color. You can let us know anything, but it's very important that everybody gets engaged with today's session. Now, the outcome of today's session really is heavily dependent on how much you engage with us. How many questions do you have? How many thought-provoking things can you just bring up amongst everybody here today? Because myself and Glenn, we don't want to be the only body talking here. So we encourage you to get involved as much as possible. First thing everybody's going to do is going to jump into the chat. If you've already got signed up with YouTube, say hi, let us know what your pronouns are, or let us know where you're tuning in from, and maybe a little bit about yourself. What is the transition? Why did you decide to join today's session? Are you looking to change your career? Maybe you're just not quite sure how to do it. Maybe you're not quite sure what you want to do, and this is, you're a little bit lost. and you came to the Google Digital Garage to hopefully get some grips or a little bit of a strategy to learn more about what you enjoy, what you potentially could move forward when you're looking to find your career goals. So engagement is key. So please make sure, I've already seen a couple of our lows within the chat, which I'm going to jump into very, very shortly. But what are we going to be covering over the next 60 minutes? First, number one is we're going to focus around the purpose of why are we here? That is a question I'd like to pose to everybody. Why are we here right now, for example? Are you looking to change career? Are you looking to maybe get promoted within your field? Are you looking to explore new areas that you didn't know were available before? Then we're going to look at what the session will be like. Well, essentially, what the session is going to be like. Myself and Glenn would love to tell you, hey, this is your career goal. This is what you need to do moving forward. That's not necessarily the way it's going to work out. We're going to hopefully give you the tools and the strategy to start thinking about yourself and start self-reflecting. And we're going to jump into something called a Venn diagram and find a little bit of things about what you enjoy, what are the things that you're good at, and potentially what are the things that people will value of the things that you're good at and that you enjoy. So stick with us. As mentioned, we'll jump through those Venn diagram. Last but not least is the payoff. What will you get with and when you walk away by the end of the session? Now, again, myself and Glenn would love to say, well, you're going to know exactly what you want to do straight after this. That's not necessarily going to happen this session. It's really going to be about yourself, self-reflecting, and really just finding out ways to take that next step. Where is that next step we're going to take in terms of your career? What are you going to do? What should we do? What should we focus on? So again, open minds, getting busy in the chat, and engagement is hugely encouraged. With that being said, I've already seen a couple of our lows within the chat. We got Leo calling in. Good morning. I believe Leo's also calling from India. We got Harshit also calling in. Welcome, welcome. We got Anas. Good morning to you. We got Brian Mitchell. Good morning from Isle of Wight, just off the south of coast of England. I've been to the Isle of Wight before. It's a beautiful place. Thank you for joining us, Brian. We got NG Hassan calling in from Egypt. Wow. We really have a diverse audience today. Eugene is looking to change your career as a digital marketer freelancer. Then we have Tumzi Sang. I hope my apologies if I incorrectly pronounced that. But welcome from Botswana. Wow, we really do have people from all walks of life. So keep that coming in. Keep Glenn on his toes. He's waiting for that interaction, for those questions, those queries, and those emojis. So keep it flowing as we go along. And as you start introducing yourself and saying hello to Glenn, I want to bring your attention to something that's a fantastic opportunity for everybody watching here today is the Google Career Certificates. Is available. And if you're looking to get job-ready skills set or learn the most in-demand skills today, I highly recommend you go to this link, which is goo.gle/career certification UK or Cert UK. Anything from IT support, project management, data analytics, user experience design, and then there is digital marketing and e-commerce, and even Android development. Now, I've personally undergone the user experience design certificate and loved every single step of that particular course. And I hugely encourage that to everybody to get on board. If you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'd like to learn something new. I'd like to learn something that's very, very much in demand and that employers and individuals are looking for, definitely explore that link and hopefully you'll jump into one of those courses. And if you are in the UK, there is an opportunity to get these certificates or these access to these courses for free through some selected partners. So jump onto the website, jump into, if you are in the UK, click on another button that says click here to find the partners, and hopefully you can go ahead and get set up for success. With that being said, we got a couple more hellos, which is coming in. We've got Harshad also looking to get started in design. Well, perhaps UX design may be a path for you. But what I'd like everybody to do now, we're going to set the pace for the rest of the session. And I'm really hoping that everybody's already set up with their YouTube account and they've already said hello within the chat and they've got set up with that momentum as we start to go in today's session. But think back, everybody watching here today, I'd like you to think back when you felt the most fulfilled by a job, volunteering, activity, or a task. And it can be any time, past or present. Maybe right now you feel fulfilled. Maybe you were helping a friend out a week ago and you helped him with a problem and you felt great about it and you felt fulfilled. Or you could be like me, for example. One of the most significant moments in my life was when I did door to door and I raised charity for some amazing charities for heart research, for breast cancer, for animals. And I used to go knock, knock, and I used to get lots of doors shoved in my face, but I came across some remarkable individuals with some really fantastic conversations. And by the end of the day, I felt amazing. I felt fulfilled because I did something that I love to do, which is help others. And essentially, I got lots of money for these charities to help move those charities move forward. Now, that could be an example for myself. Again, door-to-door sales isn't for everybody, but think about yourself. Maybe it was an activity. Maybe it was homework that you did. Maybe it was something in university. Maybe it was something that you did with your friends. But if you're thinking about something, I don't know if that was fulfilled or not, I'm not sure if it was, go ahead and pop it into the chat. Myself and Glenn would love to know. One more time is think back when you felt most fulfilled in your life, past and present, doesn't matter when it was, but when was that sense of fulfillment? And I want you to stop self-reflecting and pop it into the chat, and we would love to know, what was that fulfillment that you felt? Did you feel the fulfillment like I did when I used to go door to door and raise money for charities? Or maybe you just gave an impeccable service as a waiter or as a bar waiter or as a bartender, and you delivered amazing service from that point of view. So it doesn't matter where you are, what walks of life, what you've done before. Just think of that time when you felt fulfilled. And I'm bringing a huge focus on this because I want to set the pace for today's session. And I'm really hoping to get a few of you to pop it into the chat. One more time. When is the last time, or when was it that you felt most fulfilled? I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, and I'm pretty sure Glenn will start to trickle them as we go along. But fulfillment is key when we're looking to find career goals. With that being said, fulfillment, if there is no fulfillment, there is a very, very sad statistic, which I'm going to jump into right now, which is 3 out of 10. So that's 3 out of 10 workers, that's 30% in the UK, do not believe that they have prospects for career development. Now, when we consider that work, we spend almost a third of our lives at work, can we really afford to fall within the statistic? A lot of us may be just working to make sure we have a roof over our head and we can feed our family and we can survive. Now, of course, that is going to be something that we all need to do. But what I'd like us to start thinking about is start opening our minds to doing things that we really, really enjoy to do. For example, the first one, I want to introduce you to something called the Venn diagram. Now, the Venn diagram is going to be composed of 3 different aspects of potentially fulfillment. So explaining, this is the method that we're going to use to evaluate that fulfillment of that particular job. So there is 3 elements in a job that we can find fulfilling. It's going to be something that you enjoy, something that you find pleasure in. Now, I don't know what that is for you, but for example, it could be maybe you love gaming. Maybe you love playing golf. Maybe you love having conversations. Maybe you like working within a team. Maybe you like playing sport. Now, there is no limitations right here. Now, when we move forward, especially within this world, we need to take ourselves out of that box. I like to say there is no box. But the first aspect is going to be something that you enjoy to do. And we'll focus a little bit more about this very, very soon. Next up, we're going to look at how we're going to find something that you're good at. Now, we as human creatures, as human beings, we are notoriously bad for knowing what we are good at. So this is probably the reason, maybe one of the reasons why you're here today is you're not quite sure what you're good at. Now, I don't blame you. Sometimes we just don't know what we're good at, but fear not. Myself, Glenn, and the team, we've got a couple of tools that we're going to jump and throw your way in terms of finding out how we're going to find that thing or something that you are good at. Then, of course, last but not least, we need to get paid as individuals. We need to get something that is of value. How do we find something that we enjoy doing? Then we are good at it. And if we have those 2, then potentially somebody's going to pay for our services. I saw earlier, somebody's looking to get into design. I think it was Harshit as well. If you're looking to get into design, maybe that's something that you really enjoy doing right now, but you're not necessarily good at it. But we need to get to a point where someone will value that. So hopefully you've got a couple more. Again, I'm really looking for those moments of when you felt most fulfilled. Please go ahead and pop that in. It's going to set the pace for today's session. With these 3 different aspects of something that you enjoy to do, something that you're good at, and something that you value, there's going to be a few things that we can bring across. So we have something that you are good at. Oh, we got one for most fulfilled from Leo. Thank you very much, Leo Fernandez. I felt that feeling when I implemented a school management system online application successful in the year 2015. Leo, that is amazing and very, very specific. and encourage anybody else would like to get involved with this. That would be amazing to see, but find out when that was fulfillment. Now, that implementation of the school management on online services in 2015, that was quite a time back. So what was it about that that made you feel fulfilled? And we'll get into that very, very shortly. But having a look at this Venn diagram, we've got something that you enjoy. If you just enjoy doing it, then it's probably just going to be fun. For example, I love playing video games, for example, but sometimes I'm just really not good at it and no one's really going to pay me to do it. So it's just fun. It's something to do. However, maybe I really enjoy gaming and I'm really good at it. It may potentially be a skilled hobby, something that I really, really love to do, a hobby to be a gamer, but I'm good at it and I enjoy it. Then maybe there is something in life that I'm just really, really good at. For example, I'm really good at chores. I'm really good at taking out the bin when I need to take out the bin, pay the bills when I need to pay the bills, but it's something that I'm good at. I don't really enjoy it. Nobody's going to really pay me to make sure I pay my own bills or do my chores. But hopefully you're starting to understand the differences between the two and how we need to find that sweet spot. However, maybe you enjoy something, but you don't actually think you're good at it, but people will value your expertise in it. That potentially might be a low-skilled job. For example, you're looking to change to a career, you briefly know some sort of it, you enjoy doing it, you're not as good as you think you are at it, but people will pay you, low-skilled job. Alternatively, there could be something that you're really, really, really good at, focusing on that green circle, and people will pay you to do it, or there's some value behind it, but you don't really enjoy doing it. Now, this is normally the point where a lot of us in the entire world are at the very moment, at this present moment. We're good at something, we're getting paid to do it, but we're doing it because we need to make sure we have food in our tummies and we have a roof over our head, but we don't enjoy it. So we need to find that sweet spot of something that we're good at, something that we enjoy, and then something that people will value. With all of that being said, I want you to start thinking about from a point of view of what is going to motivate us to either move to a point of doing something that we enjoy or perhaps motivate us to be a little bit better at what we would like to be at. So are we going to study more? Are we going to practice more? Are we going to get more experience? Are we going to get a mentor? And these are the motivators that we're going to think about. Now, if I bring the attention to motivator, I'd like us to all ask a question of what do you think is the top motivator at work? Now, before you answer, obviously we have to earn money. But if once we earn past that base level, we need to buy the basics of food, shelter, water. What motivates us to improve our performance and strive to do good work? So let's see if there's a few things that's going to pop into the chat. Is what do you think is the top motivator at work? And we're going to take money out of the equation just for now. Now, it could be multiple motivators, but I'd like to see if there's anything that's going to be popped into the chat. Let's go ahead and see. What do you feel is the biggest top motivator at work? So think about all of you watching here today. When was it in the past? What was a good motivator for you? I'll run you through in a story. And as I run through the story, I'd really like to get people to pop it into the chat and let us know, what do you think is the top motivator at work? Now, as an example, I've changed my career multiple of times. I've gone within sales, recruitment, hospitality, learning and development. And every time I changed my career, a lot of my motivation to move forward normally came from others, to be honest. There was a lot of internal self-motivation, but what really sparked my true motivation of trying to be better at what I am is normally going to be from another person. So love that. Michael has put being appreciated. Let's see if you get a few more, but Michael, I could not agree with you anymore. So please make sure you share within the chat, what is the biggest top motivator at work? Environment and management. Angie, I love that too. And that's probably a huge aspect for me as well when I'm working in a positive environment with people with open mind. And of course, how is that managed? How are people managing me? I'm getting micromanaged. It's a huge part of that process. But I'm going to go ahead and reveal that. Let's see if we can get one more, perhaps, of what is the top motivator at work for you. And remember, there's no right or wrong answers here, everybody. It really depends on what's going to spark your mind and what's going to come out there. So You know what? I'm actually going to go ahead and reveal that answer. And it very much ties into what Michael has popped into the chat there, is being appreciated, which is the recognition of work. This motivates me to move forward and forward and forward and just improve. Now, talking about that recognition of work, I'd like to tie that in nicely into today's session. So we're going to jump into the first part of today's session's questions. So please let me know if you have any questions or queries. Please don't be shy. There's no such thing as a silly question. You've all entered a completely non-judgmental environment, and we really want to hear from you. With that being said, looking or seeking for some recognition of work, myself, Glenn, and the team would love to know your feedback. So maybe a little bit early stages, but I'm going to share this link with you towards the end of today's session, which is goo.gle/digital garage feedback. And we'd love to know what you thought about today's session. And sometimes we get some remarkable comments coming in saying how amazing the session was, how much we had an impact on somebody's life or their career. Now, that pretty much brings us back to that motivator of recognition, or something that I mentioned earlier with Michael, which is being appreciated. Myself, Glenn, and the team, we love to be appreciated and recognized, and hopefully that's going to motivate us to start delivering more impactful sessions that's going to allow you to give you actionable steps to start taking afterwards. So I'll share the feedback form towards the end of today's session, but please, we welcome questions, queries, emojis. Feel free to ask us as we go along. And I know Glenn's on his toes there answering as we go along. So talking about that Venn diagram, we're going to talk about the first circle, which is going to be uncovering your career goals. But we need to find that something that you enjoy, something that you find pleasure in. Now, there could be lots of different things that you find pleasure in and the things that you can do, but we're actually going to jump into an exercise to help you through this process of finding the things that you truly, truly enjoy to do. So thinking about that, we're going to jump into exercise. I know Glenn has already popped this into the chat, but hopefully everybody has a pen and a pad ready to go, because we are going to start ideating ideas, and you're going to start self-reflecting, and you're going to start taking things down and taking down notes, either a piece of paper or a separate tab. Regardless, let's start taking down some notes as we jump into this first exercise, which is going to be picking out the words and phrases that describe the things that you enjoy. Now, I don't know about you, but if somebody just had to randomly approach me and say, "Hey, Daryl, what are the things that you enjoy to do?" I'll be like, I don't really know. I'm not quite sure. I like talking. I like sharing ideas. I like helping people. I'm not quite sure. So this is probably why you're here today. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to introduce you to 8 phrases. Now, just keep in mind, this list hasn't just been plucked out of nowhere and said, well, let's just randomly choose some sort of words to find out what we're good at. These are based on the work of Professor Edgar Sheen, who's been working on this since 1970. So it's pretty well tested. Now, what I'd like you all to do is look at all those phrases, make sure that you have a pen and pad ready to go, and I want you to start writing down the things that resonate with you. For example, secure, stable work. Well, I enjoy that. I could pop that down. Having ideas, I'm terrible at having ideas. I'm going to park that one for now. Helping others, perhaps this is exactly what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to go ahead and write down helping others. Next one would be working independently. It's another thing that I enjoy to do, but sometimes I like working with a team too. So maybe I'll park that for now. But it's very, very important that all of you wonderful individuals watching today start writing this down with a pen and pad. I know you may be thinking, well, Daryl, I know, I can see it on the screen, I can think about it. We need to look to externalize those ideas. So encourage these pen and pad and pick out as many as you like of the things that you truly, truly enjoy to do. Working independently, work-life balance, which is very, very important in today's world. Being an expert, I love being an expert. I'm not always the expert, but I like being an expert. Next one, organizing people. This is one of my favorite things that I used to enjoy when I worked in hospitality, within management. I was coordinating bartenders, bar waiters, bar servers, restaurant staff, and I was organizing them all, and I really, really enjoyed that. So again, everybody start thinking about them. Pop it into the chat. Glenn shared his, which is amazing. And just pick out all the ones that you just enjoy. Glenn is helping others, This is pretty much why we're on the same page. Solving problems. And number 3, having ideas. And number 4, it's got a work-life balance. So again, encourage you to write these down on pen and pad. And if you'd like to, myself, Glenn, and the team would love to know your thoughts. So go ahead and pop it into the chat and see the things that you truly, truly enjoy to do. The things that are very, very easy to come by. I'm going to go ahead and share mine. Number 1 would definitely be helping others. Number 2 would be working independently. And the last one would be having a good work-life balance. Actually, I like another one. I like organizing people too, and I like solving problems. Now, here's Daryl saying, oh, which ones can you pick? Pick as many as you like, because we're going to jump into the next stage very, very shortly. Once you've picked those, we now want to rank them to your top 3. Which are those top 3 things that are the things that you truly, truly enjoy to do? So I leave it on screen for you. We've got Anjali Cole. Thank you so much for sharing. She's got secure and stable work-life balance and being an expert. I absolutely love that one. Pick as many as you like on the first one, as many as you like. And then if you want to type it in and let us know the 3, we got one from Leo, which is for me, helping others, work-life balance, organizing people, and mostly solving problems. So it seems to be that we found about 4 of those. Now, what I'd like you all to do is hopefully pop it into the chat, but now I'd like you to rank them from the number 1, 2, and then 3. What is that number 1 thing that you enjoy? So let's go ahead and bring those up on screen again. Number 1, what is that one thing? For me, number 1 would be definitely helping others. Number 2, so difficult to pick. I'm going to say work-life balance, very, very important. And then number 3, I'm going to have to say solving problems. Now, what you'll notice is that I've changed and chopped and changed, and a few of you watching here today may do something similar. Remember, it's okay. Right now, we're just ideating ideas and trying to find that sweet spot of the things that you truly, truly enjoy. We have one from Kaut, which is 1, life balance. Number 2 is organizing people. Number 3 is solving problems. Thank you, everybody, for getting involved. This is the beauty of this session. Without your engagement, we can't help. So thank you so much for getting involved and really getting interactive when it comes to this particular exercise. And as having ideas, organizing people, helping others, work-life balance, and solving problems. For those of you who have just popped in quite a few, amazing. Now, number 2, I'd like you to rank those from 1, 2, and then 3. Once we've done that, I want you now, for those who've already done that, would like to park that and think about picking up the phrases that describe what you do right now to what you've done previously. Now, regardless if you're in work or not work right now, I'd like you to do a comparison. So at the very beginning, we focused on the things that first came to mind of what you really, really enjoy. And hopefully those are most the genuine ones of what you actually enjoy to do. Now, what I'd like you to do is find out what you did previously and then what you are doing right now. And there is normally quite a little bit of a difference between the two. And this is going to help allow you to translate that. We've got a few more. We've got tons more coming in from ID. Top 3, stable, secure, stable job. Being an expert and work-life balance, very similar to mine. ID, love that. We got one from Anjali, ranking number 1, work-life balance. So important today. We have being an expert, and then secure is number 3, and stable work. Sandeep, work-life balance. Ooh, that seems to be a popular one amongst all of us, and it's so important today. Number 2, helping others. Love that one. And then having ideas. Beautiful. Now, for all of those that you've created, hopefully you've got those top 3 that you've got kind of written down, or you've popped it into the chat, which is great. Now I want you to, for yourself, to start thinking about what you've done previously. Maybe there was some time when you felt really fulfilled and you were doing things that you truly enjoyed. But now there's going to be a little bit of a comparison to start opening that up for yourself. So again, I'll leave the list up there one more time. Secure, stable work, having ideas, helping others, working independently, work-life balance, being an expert, organizing people, and solving problems. And for a further exercise, maybe homework, or maybe after today's session, what I do recommend is you either take a picture of this particular slide, or you go ahead and Google Professor Edgar Sheen's framework around this and start learning more about how you can find out things that you enjoy. So to bring it all together, what we're going to do now is think about the differences between your current list and your ideal list. Now, I would love everybody to share in the chat, but If you found something really significant in the comparison between what you've done previously and what you've done right now, did you have some sort of a realization, or did you identify something that you think, oh, I really helped others a lot in the past and I felt so fulfilled? For example, when I used to go door to door and I was helping charities and helping others, I felt really good at the end of the day, and I really enjoyed doing that. And that motivated me to do more and more and more and more. But today, I'm helping people, but I'm not necessarily going knocking on door to door, but I'm still helping people. So that's kind of equal. However, maybe in the past, I was really focused on having ideas with my team, for example. Maybe I don't have ideas right now. So simple example, do a comparison. And it's very, very important that you do that comparison to find out truly, are you doing the things that you want to do, and are you on track? We've got some great comments in the chat, which I love to see. I'm going to make sure I'm not missing anything. Popping them all in there. Top 3. I think I've read most of them. Keep that engagement going along as we jump into the next part, which is going to be introducing you to the Dunning-Kruger Effect. But I'd just like to refresh your mind. What we've gone through so far, it's been half an hour already. What we did at the very, very beginning, I introduced you to something called the Venn diagram. Then majority of the session has been focused around the things that you enjoy. And when you focus on the things that you enjoy, you'll be focusing on these 8 phrases, and that's going to allow you to compare. And hopefully you're going to find those top 3, and you're going to have it on a piece of paper, put it on the mirror, put it next to your bed, put it on your desk. Then slowly but surely, we're going to jump into the next part. Are there any questions or queries? I've seen so many beautiful comments coming in, so many of you sharing those things that you enjoy to do, but keep it coming in. I don't see any questions yet, which is perfectly okay. But I just want to remind you, myself and Glenn, we love questions. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, should I ask? Shouldn't I ask? Go ahead and ask anyways. And remember, we love feedback. We want to get that recognition of work. We want to get that feedback from yourselves so we can improve. If you really enjoyed it, go to goo.gle/digital Garrett feedback. It means the world to myself, Glenn, and the team. But without further ado, next up, we're going to jump into the last part, the second part, which is going to be doing something that you're good at. This is probably the most difficult part of this Venn diagram, and probably the difficult part for most of us, because we are notoriously bad for knowing what we're good at. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce you to something called the Dunning-Kruger Effect, and understand that how it may influence an individual's perception around our strengths. Now, our own individual perceptions of our strengths are often not reflected in our actual abilities. So in other words, you may think that you are as better at something that you think you are, but you're not actually that great. Now, I highly recommend that you jump into Google after today's session and type in the Dunning-Kruger Effect. Or you can go to the wonderful YouTube right now after today's session and go ahead and see if there's a video on it. There are plenty of videos on the Dunning-Kruger Effect. But what I'd like to do now is take you through a story to hopefully give you a better understanding of what the Dunning-Kruger is, and it affects all of us, all around the world. Again, the whole perception is we think that we're better at something than we actually are. So I'm going to introduce you to this graph. We have on the vertical axes, we have the confidence. So from 0 confidence to high confidence. Then on the horizontal scale, we have competency, or the ability to do something, from really not competent at all to being very, very competent to do it. And the story I'm allowed to bring you across to you right now is I'm going to talk about singing. So back in the day, when I was with my friends, we wanted to go do some karaoke, and I got encouraged by friends to say, hey, let's go on a karaoke night. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I do not know how to sing. I've never sung in my life before. And this karaoke means that you have to play guitar and sing, for example. Now, this is where I'm sitting, where the big red is on that graph right now. I have no confidence, and I am not competent at all. And I know it because I've never really experienced singing before. However, I know karaoke is going to be in about a month's time. So 4 weeks from now, I'm going to be, okay, I'm going to get prepared for this. I'm going to go jump on YouTube videos. I'm going to practice singing in the shower. And that's what I did. I watched videos and I tried to mimic their voice. And I was starting to learn more about notes, musical notes, and probably about a few weeks went by and I felt a little bit more confident. I know a little bit more about music. I got a few compliments from my family saying how amazing my singing is in the shower. Probably wasn't good, but they loved me so much. They said it was really, really good. So that's when we're going to come to the next part, which is from not knowing anything and not being very competent in anything, which is going to be singing. I did a little bit of practice. I watched a couple of YouTube videos. I kind of practiced in the shower, maybe practiced with a few friends. And now that I've learned a little bit about what singing is all about, all of a sudden, I think I'm fantastic and I'm going to play guitar. I'm going to hit the biggest talent shows in the world, all across the world, and I'm going to start singing. And hey, knows, maybe I'm going to be a musical star and I'm going to be, next to Elton John and some of the top singers in the world. So I get up on stage and I just start singing on the top of my voice. And I think I'm really, really great, but the audience is just like, oh, when is this guy going to finish? But I think I'm great because I've only learned, and it's basically, I think I know everything about singing, but I don't know what I don't know. So I'm going to say that one more time. I don't know what I don't know. That may be confusing, but when it comes to singing, it's not going to happen overnight or a couple of weeks. We have singers who have trained since they were 2 years old, 3 years old, gone through years of training and vocal training that really know how good they are. So that's when it comes to singing. Then it works the other way too, which is kind of interesting when it comes to the Dunning-Kruger effect. At this moment in time, I'm singing the top of my voice. I think I'm amazing. I've done 4 weeks of YouTube videos. I've done a couple of weeks of practicing, but then it could work the other way around. Often, if you're actually quite good at something, you're likely to underestimate your abilities. You're not taking the false modesty here. People who are pretty good at something tend to think it's no big deal, or they don't think they're actually that good. Maybe because you know how good others are comparison to yourself. So you know how much you need to put into this particular craft or singing in order to be at a higher level. But when I like to draw your attention to where the red dot is right now, we've gone from high confidence, not very competent. Now, maybe I've gone down to the second karaoke night, and I've gone to the third karaoke night. And I start watching all these wonderful, talented individuals basically getting people on their feet, round of applause, standing ovations. And there's me thinking, you know what? Actually, I think I need to work on a little bit more of my singing to be the standard of where these are. So my competency of knowledge of how singing is probably progressing, but my confidence starts to decrease the more I don't know. So this is a pinnacle moment for a lot of individuals learning a new skill. So I know we're talking about singing right now, but hopefully you're all starting to think about this from a perspective of learning anything new. You start, maybe you buy a brand new guitar, or you buy a guitar, you strum a few beats, you learn a few chords on YouTube or a few tabs, and you start playing a beginning of a song, and you get really excited because you think, wow, I'm so good at this. I could be like a next rock star. But then I start learning more and more and more and realize I've got so much more to learn, and that can be normally quite discouraging in itself. So again, 2 different ways to go about it when it comes to the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'm going to skyrocket you to the very end, which is normally where the most successful individuals are sitting. Now, the one we said before, it's perfectly okay to learn something new, and maybe it's not quite for you because you don't enjoy it, and you can drop it. Talking about that, I don't do karaoke anymore because I am really, really bad at singing. So that's not something I'm going to explore moving forward. However, moving forward, if I start learning more about singing and I start practicing, I go for vocal coaching and I go meet new people, I get mentors, and I really get into tune with what it is and what I need to do to become a singer. And then you become an expert, and then you are confident in what you do. You know that you are good because you've gone through that time and you're competent. Okay, so next up, we're going to come down to, there's no questions at the moment. I think there's a little bit of confusion. Hopefully we'll clarify that. I'm confused to choose a career in photography or yoga teacher or start copy. Okay, there's some great confusion. Let's hopefully clarify that very, very shortly. So talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect, what I'd like us to do now is everybody here to start thinking about 3 people that you know well. This is hopefully going to find out the things that you are good at. So when you find these 3 people, it could be anybody. I'd recommend an acquaintance or a coworker or a friend or a neighbor or somebody that you work with. That would be my preference. You could think about your family, like your mom and your dad and your brothers and your sisters, but they may love you too much to tell you the truth. And they'll probably say you're brilliant at everything. Just like when I did karaoke, for example, my family was like, oh, you're an amazing singer, kind of boosted my ego and allowed me to get a little bit more confident. So don't necessarily choose your family. Choose co-workers, friends, or maybe a few acquaintances from past. And what I'd like you to do is I want you to imagine that all of you are speaking to one of those trusted people that knows you very, very well. So remember, we're trying to find people or people within your life, preferably not your family because they're going to be completely biased, co-workers, friends that know you very, very well. And what I want you to do is think about what would they say? Is I always ask, and that X, by the way, is all of your names. Individually, for example, I always ask Daryl, or I always ask Glenn, if it's going to be Glenn watching here today. For you, what is that going to be? So I always ask, I'm going to use Daryl for help with digital skills. And I would, or Daryl knows a lot about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, for example. Or you can always ask Daryl to motivate me in the morning because he's really good at motivation. So just to clarify this, the X is where you put your name, and it's going to be what do you think that trusted person would say. For example, if I had to choose people that know me well, I'm going to choose my friend that I go to gym with. I'm going to choose another friend that is a bartender that I see at the local pub very, very often. And then I'm going to speak to I'm going to think about one of my coworkers, perhaps Glenn, that's currently on the call today. And I'm going to think about what are they going to say about me. For example, I always ask Daryl with digital skills. For example, we have someone else there, which is Anas. I always ask Anas for help with so and so forth. So what you're doing is you're imagining what they potentially might say about you. And it's a great way. Now you may be thinking, well, Daryl, I don't really know a few things. So let's put up a few words up on screen, which is a few suggestions of skills people may have or recognize as being skills. Please include anything such as subjects you like, things that you like to read about, things that you don't think are work related. So I'm going to run through this one more time. Remember, the X is where you put your name, and you are going to think about what that person would say about you. For example, I always ask Daryl with help with making things, or Daryl knows a lot about operating machines, for example. Then next one, you can always ask Daryl to use data or problem solve, for example. Now, again, I want you to start bringing that in, and it's a little bit of homework for everybody. Is this is only the assumptions that you're going to come up with. Remember, we are notoriously bad at knowing what we're good at. So now we're going to make the assumption of what your friends, coworkers, or other individuals might say about you. After the session, I encourage you to ask this and say to your friends or your family or whoever you're going to ask, what would you ask me for? What do you think I am skilled in? And hopefully that should solidify a few things that you are good at. I'll give you an example. I've done this previously with friends, coworkers, colleagues, and I asked these types of questions, and I found a common denominator that majority of people said, I can always help Daryl with digital skills. And that's kind of the path that I've taken. I'm a digital skills trainer, and that's what I focus on, doing something that I'm good at. And because people recognize that I'm good at this. So with that being said, we're going to jump into the last part, which is going to be pausing for questions first. So I don't see there's any questions. So please don't be shy. If you have any thoughts or if there's any confusion, please go ahead and ask myself and Glenn. But I'd like to really bring it across of how far we've come so far. The first part of today's session was establishing about something that you enjoy to do. And we looked at those 8 phrases. We shortened those phrases or that list down to 3 that you really, really enjoy doing. And then you did a comparison between what you do right now and what you've done in the past. Then we jumped into the second part, which is finding something that you're good at. and I introduced you to something called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. The reason it's called Dunning-Kruger was by created two gentlemen called David Dunning and Justin Krueger, who identified that we are really bad at knowing what we're good at, especially if we're starting off on a new journey, as many of you may be, by you finding your career goals. Last but not least, we're going to go into the final third circle about finding something that people will value. So now we're going to find something that you enjoy. We found something that you're good at, but who's going to pay us to do it? Who is going to make sure we have a roof over our head and hopefully we can move forward and be better and better and better in the future? I see the chat is absolutely buzzing, which is absolutely fantastic. Keep Glenn on his toes as we've got about 14 minutes to go as we jump into the last part of today's session, which is going to be around people, something that people will value. The final element is once we've found and identified those two things or the things that we enjoy and we're good at, we need to find a job, essentially. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into some couple of case studies. And I'm really, really excited to bring these across to you because it kind of amplifies how anybody can change career. For example, I've changed my career multiple of times. But let's draw our attention to Abigail's story. I'm going to go ahead and read this for you. So Abby worked in technology at a very large entertainment business and used to make cakes to bring for her colleagues. And they were so good, she decided to start her own business, Abby's Pantry, which started in London and has now moved to Edinburgh. Abigail's story is a classic one of knowing that you enjoy doing something. In this case, Abigail loved to bake cakes. That was where her passion is. She just loves baking cakes. And then she turned this from a skilled hobby, something that she's really good at, into a passion project, into something that she makes a living out of. So a transition from a high-paying, large entertainment business to baking cakes, to selling cakes and creating her own business. Abigail has started her digital training with Google to help find new customers and make her business more visible on Google. An inspiring and motivating story that just like you to remind everybody watching here today is that you have the ability to do exactly the same thing. When we think about Abigail's story, she was probably in a situation where she was good at something and people were paying her to do it. But maybe she enjoyed it, but she didn't enjoy it as much as she enjoyed making cakes. So she drew her attention to focusing on things that she enjoyed. She created that skill hobby into things that people will value. And now people come to Abigail's store to buy her famous cupcakes. Next up, another one of my favorites, which is Claire and Rachel's story. Claire and Rachel's stories shows us that thinking beyond what we currently do is the key to finding our yet. What are we going to be doing? So Claire was actually a barrister, and Rachel was a sonographer. Sonographer is someone who does that imaging of this ultrasounds, for example, looking at the baby inside, for example. So quite two high-paying jobs. After going on a start your own business course, they set up a How Do I Do directory, which offers for people with all sexual orientations to have access to wedding supplies and wedding planners. That is remarkable. Again, Claire and Rachel were in a fantastic job. They were probably really, really good at it. They were getting paid because people valued it, but maybe they didn't enjoy it as much as the project that they're currently working on. Next up, we have Shahid's story Shakil's story, made redundant by his employer, was a major turning point for his career, then a setback because it gave him the opportunity to take a look at what he's good at. And essentially what he's good at is working with people or working in HR, working independently and directly influential people through their hashtag called hashtag catch up over coffee. Over 6 months, he'd grown from 200 followers to 1,500 LinkedIn followers, which then created a platform for him to start getting sales and start working with more individuals. So it's an inspiring story, but all of these, as much as I could talk how highly and amazing these stories are, every single person watching here today has the ability to do exactly the same thing. But the one thing that normally stops us is we don't take the time to self-reflect like we're all doing right now and start thinking about the things that we enjoy. We just carry on with life. We make sure we get paid so we can go and make sure we have a roof over our head and we have food on our belly. But we want to transition that to really focus on the things that you enjoy, because that comes back to our very first point of the session, which was how do we find that fulfillment that we are all seeking Every single day, we want to have that sense of fulfillment. What did we do today that really have an impact? For example, I'm going to feel huge fulfillment after this session purely because I believe that myself and Glenn are going to bring across great information that hopefully will impact many of you and hopefully change your thought processes of how you're going to look at gaining your own career or changing or finding your career goals moving forward, because it's never easy. And I really hope that nobody's being too hard on themselves and really starting to explore those different areas. So I see some wonderful chats within the chat, which is wonderful conversation within the chat. Please maintain that. Glenn is probably loving all that engagement within the chat, along with myself. So keep on that. Keep that up. Could be something that you say in the chat today that may resonate with somebody else. So the very last part, which is who will value with what I'm good at. So find out which job or profession, which business, and what is the value. For example, when I changed my career multiple of times, I was in hospitality for a very, very, very long time. However, I looked to expand my knowledge within the digital realm, and I wasn't an expert in the beginning. I think not a lot of us are, because that's something new. I mean, digital has been around for quite some time, but in my lifetime, there was no internet, and then there was internet. So I'm giving an example from my point of view of how I then found, by learning more about digital skills, who needs digital skills? Who needs that help to guide them in the right direction? Okay, then which business? For example, what type of businesses would employ you within the context of what you enjoy to do? And of course, what is the value? What value do you bring? What is that one thing that you can sell? And it's not always expertise. A lot of people think that value is, well, I've been working in this industry for 10 years, so I bring a lot of value. However, you could be in the industry for a couple of weeks, but you have transferable skills that you've done previously that would bring a huge value to a particular company, a charity, or an organization. For example, I was not in technology before, but my transferable skills is that in my career within hospitality, within learning and development, and of course, knocking on and going door to door, is people skills. I learned the ability to publicly speak and communicate effectively. Well, hopefully you're finding this effective. Now, once I've generated and created more of a more powerful communicative voice, I was then able to transfer that to another career within a different area, for example. So I just don't want people to think of narrow-mindedly about the value that all of you bring to the table, regardless of your background. Even if you haven't even worked that much in the past and you dedicated your life to caring for a loved one or anything else, you have some sort of skills that you can transfer. Okay, next up, we're going to jump into how are we now going to look for those jobs. So if you now have gone through this exercise, you find out things that you enjoy, you find a few things that you're good at. Now, all we need to do is now scour the internet and start finding out jobs and what are they looking for. This is something I have a lot of experience with. In my previous career, I was a recruitment consultant, and I've seen many, many different CVs over my lifetime, and especially during that career. But how can we now take control? So what I recommend everybody do, once you've found out some sort of a job or an area you'd like to work in, I think someone said earlier, I think it was Harshad, who wanted to go a little bit more into design. If you're looking to go into design, is it UX design? Is it graphic design? Try to narrow that down, for example. Then you jump into Google and type in Google UX design job, and you'll start to find Google jobs. And Google Jobs will then scour the internet and find out all the related jobs within your area or within the context of what you searched. Then all you need to do is look at those job descriptions. What are they looking for? Are they looking for communication skills? Are they looking expertise on a certain software? Are they looking for expertise in a certain area? And once you look at multiple job descriptions, you'll start to realize that there is a common trend, that they're all looking for something, and that is the value. Then you build up your skills, and you are now going to become the value and say, well, I've got extensive experience, or I've got experience within this field, even if it's a little bit, and I'd like to apply for this role with the value that I have. A couple of other platforms that you might be able to jump into. So happy for Glenn to pop that into the chat, which is Do It. Live. There's another one called Charity Job. And there's going to be LinkedIn. Myself, I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn to showcase your ability, connect, and network with potential employers and other individuals to start strengthening your network to hopefully tap into a few jobs that you may not come across when it comes down to your LinkedIn or your job, Google Jobs, all those job boards that you may come across. Now, I'm tired of time. I wish I could talk more about this and I wish I had more time, but what I really like to bring across to everybody is goals. If I spoke about goals, I could speak about goals for days, but right now, pens and pads, everybody to go. Even if you don't stick to it right now, I want you to start externalizing this and think about today. Today, I'm going to, for example, today I'm going to take what Daryl said. I'm going to go Google the Dunning-Kruger Effect. I'm going to go Google the Venn diagram, and I'm really going to narrow down the things that I enjoy to do. And next week, I'm going to contact those friends, family, coworkers, whoever it is, and start identifying what do people think that I'm good at. That homework is so important and so valuable. I can speak from experience is when I asked lots of individuals, what do you think that I'm good at? What do you come to me for? If you have to come to me for something, what value would I bring? A lot of them said, well, you can help me with my social media account. You can help me with digital skills. You can fix my TV. You can build my PC. So eventually it started to narrow down is that I'm really, really good at working with computers and anything around digital. But for you, I want you to all think about what's your next step. Your next step is you're going to go ask all those friends and family. Then this month, I will have applied for 5 jobs, for example. Then this year, I would have gained a new skill. For example, maybe that skill would be something that you do within the Google career certificates and start learning more of the in-demand skills that are very, very much in demand. I repeated myself there. That's how much in demand they are around user experience design, around digital marketing, around project management, which I'll talk more about in a second. But the most important thing I'd like to kind of consolidate and end the session on is goals are everything. If you write down a goal right now, it might be a really, really good direction to take you to the next level. Pause to see if there's any questions. I don't see if there's any questions so far. I got one here, a question that most of Glenn's answered. Leo worked in an administrative assistant, secretary, and took up various roles, but I'm not really happy with that, and I want to change my career to the IT industry as it is the future. What should I do? Leo, that is an amazing aspiration to move into the digital field. And guess what? You came to the right place. Highly recommend you jump into the Google Digital Garage. I believe the link is in the description below. Alternatively, you can go to Google Digital Garage, or you can jump onto the Edge Hub website to start learning more about what they have to offer and start learning more about online skills that are completely free. And if you enjoy it, then you may lead to something else. Okay. On that note, what are your next steps? Well, again, if you're looking to gain more skills in demand areas, make sure you take down this link, which is goo.gle/career certificate UK, cert UK. I can speak from experience. When I completed the user experience design course, it is one of the best courses I have ever completed because it gave me so many tangible things that I can show people about, hey, look at my projects, look what I've created, instead of just studying and not having anything to show for. So I highly recommend you take down that link and see you in the future. But I think we're running out of time. We've got a few minutes left. I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody, especially for those who got involved. Hopefully you've got a piece of paper full of notes. You've identified the things that you enjoy to do. You're then going to find out the things that you're good at from your friends. And then you're going to jump into job boards and find out where's that value. Where can we get someone to pay you to do the things that you enjoy and the things that you are good at? And last but not least, myself, Glenn, and the team talking about that motivator for recognition is myself, Glenn, and the team would like to have some recognition. What did you think about today's session? Please go to goo.gle/digital garage feedback, and we would love to hear what you thought about today's session. Did you take some actionable steps? Did it change your mindset? But without further ado, I think we're out of time. I'd like to say a big thank you to Glenn, who's been moderating today's chat, been answering all your questions and your queries. But without further ado, Make sure you come back to the Google Digital Garage. It's been wonderful to deliver this in partnership with Edge Hub, and I'm pretty sure we'll be delivering many, many more in the future. But without further ado, make sure you look after yourself, make sure you look after each other, and I would say bye for now.